Hi, love. Welcome back to Metamorphosis, a Healing Journey. It's your favorite host, Tyra Wright. Today's episode is deeply personal, but I also think it's incredibly relatable for so many people listening. Because today, we're talking about something that doesn't get discussed enough. What happens when two people who never truly experienced healthy parenting becomes parents themselves? What happens when broken children grow up and suddenly find themselves responsible for raising another human being? Today's episode is about unexpected pregnancy, father wounds, daddy issues, fear, survival, and the ways childhood trauma quietly follows us into adulthood, especially into parenthood. This episode honestly connects so deeply to episode 22, where we talked about growing up without a father and how that shapes relationships, self-worth, emotional safety, and the way we love. But today, I want to go a little deeper because not having a father around doesn't just shape who you date. It can shape how you parent too. And for me, that realization changed everything. I became pregnant at 19 years old. And if I'm being honest, it was a complete surprise. Not one of those situations where people are planning a future or talking about babies and building a family. No, we were shocked, both of us. And what made it even deeper was this. Neither one of us truly desired children at the time. Not because we hated kids, not because we were selfish, but because both of us came from painful childhoods. And when you grow up around instability, chaos, abandonment, disappointment, sometimes becoming a parent feels terrifying because deep down, you're scared. You repeat what was done to you. And I think people don't talk enough about how childhood trauma can make parenthood feel overwhelming before it even starts. The other parent of my child also grew up without his father present. So now you have two young people, both carrying father wounds, both carrying childhood pain, both trying to figure life out. And suddenly, there's a baby involved. That's heavy. And honestly, sometimes I look back now and realize we were still children emotionally ourselves, trying to raise a child while still healing from being one. The fear of repeating the cycle. One thing people don't realize about growing up without a father is that it creates fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of failure, fear of not being enough, fear of becoming your parents. And when you become a parent yourself, all those fears rise to the surface. I remember thinking, what if I mess this child up? What if I don't know how to love correctly? What if I repeat the same cycle? Because when healthy parenting wasn't molded for you, you spend a lot of adulthood a guessing. You're learning while doing, you're parenting while healing, you're trying to create emotional safety that you never personally experienced. And that's exhausting. A lot of us grew up in homes where survival mattered more than emotional connection. Some parents were physically present but emotionally absent. Some fathers disappeared completely. Some fathers were there financially but not emotionally. And when that happens, children often grow up craving validation, security, and reassurance. Then adulthood comes, and suddenly you realize those wounds followed you. Now you may ask, how does a father absent shape you? Growing up without a father can shape you in ways you don't even recognize until adulthood. Sometimes it creates hyper independence. You learn not to rely on anybody. You become the I'll do it myself person. You struggle asking for help. You struggle trusting people. You struggle believing people will stay. Sometimes it creates emotional hunger. You can crave love deeply, but fear it at the same time. You want closeness, but panic when people get too close. You chase validation because part of you still feels unseen. And sometimes you attract emotionally unavailable people because inconsistency feels familiar. That's why episode 22 was so important to me, because daddy issues aren't just jokes people throw around online. They're real emotional wounds. And if those wounds aren't addressed, they can quietly shape relationships, parenting styles, self esteem, and life decisions for years. Parenting without a blueprint. One thing I've learned in this, people who grew up in a healthy homes often don't realize what a privilege that is. Because when you grow up without emotional safety, you enter adulthood without a blueprint. Nobody taught you healthy communication. Nobody taught you emotional regulation. Nobody taught you what healthy love looked like. Nobody taught you how to express emotions safely. So when you become a parent, you're learning in real time. And that can feel incredibly lonely. I remember wanting so badly to be a good mother and also realizing I had never truly seen healthy parenting consistently molded around me. And that creates pressure because children deserves emotional healthy parents. But sometimes emotionally wounded people become parents before they've had time to heal. That doesn't make them bad people. It makes them human. Let's discuss survival parenting. I think a lot of parents from broken homes spend years parenting from survival mode. You're focused on bills, stress, trying to keep food on the table, trying to survive emotionally, trying not to fall apart mentally, and sometimes you don't even realize how much your nervous system is still operating from childhood trauma. People think healing is just crying and journaling, but healing is also learning how not to react from old pain. It's learning how to parent without projecting your fears. It's learning how not to pass down emotional wounds. And honestly, that takes work, real work, because children trigger unhealed parts of you. They force you to confront your patience, your communication, your emotional regulation, your fears, your childhood, your abandonment wounds, your anger, your softness. Children trigger everything. Now, there is a difference between intentional parenting and reactive parenting. One thing I had to learn over time was intentional parenting. Because when you grow up in chaos, reactive behavior becomes normal. Yelling becomes normal, shutting down becomes normal, emotional distance becomes normal. But healing teaches you to pause, to listen, to apologize, to regulate yourself before responding. And I think one of the most powerful things a parent can do is break cycles, not continue them. Breaking cycles may look like learning gentle communication, choosing presence over perfection, listening to your children emotionally, apologizing when you are wrong, teaching emotional safety, showing affection consistently, allowing children to express emotions safely. Those things all matter, especially for children growing up without fathers, because children who experience abandonment often internalize it. They start believing they weren't lovable enough, worthy enough, important enough. And as parents, we have to help undo that damage. I want to discuss raising children while healing yourself. I think one of the hardest parts of parenting is realizing your child deserves a healed version of you, while simultaneously realizing you're still healing yourself. That's hard, especially when life never gave you the time or space to fully process your own pain. A lot of parents are silently grieving while raising children, grieving the childhood they didn't have, grieving the parents they needed, grieving emotional safety, and grieving the love they felt that felt inconsistent. And I think sometimes becoming a parent forces you to mourn your own childhood all over again because now you see clearly what children actually deserve and you realize how much you missed. Now, healing does change the way you parent. One thing I can say now is that it changes your patience, your communication, your awareness, your emotional intelligence. It teaches you that children don't need food and clothes. They need emotional safety too. They need consistency, love, presence, protection, validation. And I think growing up without a father made me hyper aware of emotional absence. It made me deeply aware of how abandonment impacts children emotionally. Because even when children don't fully understand what's happening, their nervous system does. Children feel rejection, they feel inconsistency, they feel instability, and those experiences often follow them until adulthood. To all the women listening who grew up without fathers, I need you to know something. You are not doomed. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not automatically destined to repeat unhealthy cycles. Healing is possible. Awareness changes things. Therapy changes things. Self reflection changes things. And sometimes the very pain you experience becomes the reason you parent differently. Sometimes broken children become the most intentional parents because they know exactly what hurt feels like and they never want their children to feel it. Looking back now, I realize becoming pregnant at 19 forced me to grow up quickly. Two emotionally wounded people suddenly became responsible for another life. And honestly, we were both scared. But that experience also taught me something important. Healing matters because unhealed pain doesn't disappear. It shows up in relationships, it shows up in parenting, it shows up in communication, it shows up in the way we love ourselves. And if we don't confront it, we risk passing it down. So if you're listening today and you grew up without a father, or you are parenting while healing your own childhood wounds, please give yourself grace. Healing while raising children is hard. Breaking generational cycles is hard. Learning healthy love without seeing healthy love is hard. But it is possible. And every step you take toward healing changes not only your life, but the generations after you. In closing, thank you for spending this time with me today, love. If this episode touched you, share it with someone who may need this conversation. And remember, sometimes the strongest parents are the ones who had to teach themselves what love should have looked like all along. Until next time, keep healing, keep growing, and keep becoming. This is Metamorphosis, a healing journey, and I am your host, Tyra Wright.